Hello everybody and welcome to the video. My name is Midway and today I want to discuss some common mistakes that a lot of players make. I was doing myself these mistakes when I first started playing, and I was discussing it with some people in my alliance, and I realized that, oh well, by fixing up these mistakes I could potentially speed up my progress by a lot. So I want to be discussing some of those things so you guys can actually do this the correct way from the very beginning and you can maximize your growth. We're not talking small tips like on the previous video here, we're talking much more of not advanced stuff, but some stuff that will not be as easy to think about. It's not so straightforward, and it will really make a difference. Before we go any further though, I gotta say guys, this is a sponsored video, so if you want to help me out, please go ahead down in the description and click the link so you can download the game. Also, you can use my code going into this tab, info, then going into settings, and then clicking on redeem gift, and inputting my code Midway, you will be able to redeem some free stuff in this game. It also helps me out by the devs noticing that you guys are engaging with the game, so if you want to support me, please go ahead and do so, it really helps me out a lot. Okay, so let's go into it, and the first thing that I want to discuss is what buildings you should not actually focus on upgrading early on, and those are the resource generation buildings. Now, why would you not want to do so? Well, first of all, you don't need that many resources early on to upgrade your actually important buildings, like your troop generation buildings here, or your hospital, or your main your city hall and stuff. You will not really need that many resources early on, and you will just gain a lot of resources by doing the quests and participating in events and such. So focusing on upgrading the resource generation buildings will just set you back. It will take up quite some time of you investing into upgrading them, and you will not really get that much out of them. out of them. Now, the reason is that once you get into the late game, the resources you gain from your actual resource generation buildings will not be that big of a deal, especially if you're not specialized in actual resource generation. So there's many ways you can specialize in resource generation to actually make it worth it, but the TLDR is, unless you are doing so, you should not be focusing on that, because you're gonna end up getting a lot more resources by actually playing PvP and attacking other players. That's how you mainly get your resources once you get into the later stages of the game. So early on you won't need that many resources, and later on the resource generation won't be that powerful anyways, even if you upgrade your buildings. Because, let me just double into it, but you will probably need to spend quite some points into your commander skills into development, as well as focusing on researching a lot of resource gathering and stuff, which that just to make it worth it. And therefore I would strongly advise for you to not actually waste your time into upgrading these buildings, just actually focus on upgrading other stuff that will be more useful, like your troop generation and your city halls I mentioned before, of course your academy and your hospital and such. All of that stuff is going to be much more important, because later on the game you will be mainly focusing on PvPing if you want to be growing, as well as having fun, because it's the most fun part of the game, and that's gonna give you the most resources. So do not upgrade those kind of buildings. The second thing I want to point out is, as we mentioned, you are going to need to focus on something, either resource gathering, or unless you want to be a farm yourself, which is pretty boring, you would want to rather focus on upgrading your military capabilities so you can actually engage with the game, be more powerful, and play PvP and events together with your alliance. So in that case, what you need to really do is to focus on upgrading your military tree. Now, you can also just research all kinds of troops, like melee troops, mid-range and such, but that's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of resources to actually get all those troops to a powerful level. So what I like to do, and what it's recommended to do, is to focus on one type of troops, unless, or rather two, you could also do two, but in my case, I'm focusing on long-range troops. So for that reason, I researched pretty much everything that I could for long range. As you can see, long range armor, I'm getting long range weapons down here, and you can also focus on your commander skills on the war side, and also research everything that's got to do with long range. That way you can get one kind of troop, very powerful, and then only train those kinds of troops. Like for example, I'm doing here my snipers and my cannons, and then I'll build up an army that's mainly gonna be consisting of those two kinds of troops. That way I will just maximize my power, and then I'll be able to play PvP, be very strong, and get a lot of resources that way. Now, there's a lot more nuance to the PvP side of things and the formations and such, but to keep it simple, just focus on a simple set of kinds of troops. Don't just spread all your resources everywhere, because that's not the best way to grow in this game. and that way you will be able to just be stronger quicker. Something else that's going to be really important and that I have actually not paid enough attention myself is to upgrade your medical stations. Now, as I mentioned, PvP is the main focus of this game, and it's the best way to gain resources and to have fun and engage with your academy, or rather with your alliance, sorry. So if your medic stations are low level, what that means is that you're not going to be able to keep your troops alive. You're basically gonna be losing a lot more than you should be when you are attacking people. So when you upgrade your medical stations, what that makes is so that a higher amount of your attacking troops, when they are defeated, they become wounded instead of straight up just killed. So the more wounded units we get, the more of them we can actually recover here in the hospital, as you can see here. And that way, by simply upgrading the medical stations, when we attack, we will be able to sustain our troops for longer. That means we also save up resources on having to retrain them, and we can also not lose power. As you can see, of course, when you get more troops, you get more battle power. The less troops we have, the less battle power. We just want to be building up and getting stronger and not actually losing the progress. So yeah, very important to keep your medical stations up for that reason, as well as, of course, your hospital. So one thing that I already mentioned in my previous video, but I want to be stressing out on this one, is the importance of being part of an alliance. Ideally, a very strong alliance, if you can, being a part of the strongest alliance in your nation. So here we are in my alliance, and now the real reason why you want to be here is because you're gonna get access to a lot of free stuff, a lot of things that are gonna make your own troops and your own city a lot stronger, just passively because you are inside the alliance, that being the alliance technology tree here. For example, if you are spending some resources on training up this, for example, this perk, where we're increasing the attack of the long-range troops, this is going to be applying onto your own troops as well as everybody else's troops in the alliance. So you just get this stuff for free. It's basically taking no effort from you, just being there, and of course donating some resources so everybody can get strong. Now, you of course also get access to things like, for example, challenging the elite zombie, which is going to give you some free resources when you defeat the zombies. Pretty cool, also pretty fun. And then you also get access to the shop from the Alliance, where you spend your Alliance honor, which you gain from simply being within the Alliance and participating in events. You can use these points to buy some cool stuff, which needs to be restocked by the Alliance leader and the managers and stuff, the officers. But whenever these things are available, you can go ahead and buy them using these points, which you don't really need for much more else, and therefore get this stuff for free, which is gonna be pretty cool. Now, the main reason you want to be within the Alliance really is also because it's just very fun. Being part of an Alliance is what makes you really stronger and have more fun within the game. You're gonna have all these people around you protecting you if you're in a pretty strong Alliance. As you can see here, we're all part of this Alliance, EVO or EVO. My city is right here, and as you can see, I'm just surrounded by other players, mostly the strongest players on the nation. So if anybody dares attack me, they're gonna be met with everybody else's cities trying to defend mine. We also, of course, participate in other events, which can allow us to take other territories. For example, here you can see we have a massive amount of territory, and we also dominate the city center here, the capital, which makes you just a lot stronger. You get some buffs from that and such. It's pretty fun, and it's really all because we are part of the Alliance, so that's really the main reason you want to be in there. There's also, of course, the idea of attacking other players. You can coordinate with your Alliance in order to organize rallies to the city ruins, for example, or attacking other players in order to get resources. It's what really makes the game fun and worth playing, so definitely need to get into one as soon as possible, and ideally as strong of an alliance as you can find. And now something that is really going to make the biggest difference of it all, but it's gonna require you to be a lot more invested into the game, and it's gonna require a lot more time, and that is to have other cities that you also control as your satellite cities, or just secondary cities that you have as farms. Now, in this game, if you want to progress quickly, what you really need to do is actually do that. Just have a bunch of other cities that you don't really actually play, but instead you just use and focus on them as ways of generating resources. Resources, of course, being food, oil, metal, and minerals. All of those other cities you're gonna be able to actually use to donate those resources that you generate onto your main city, so you can speed up your process. Now, that's also a reason why you can focus on researching and mainly making your city a much more of a militaristic city, getting all those militaristic perks, and therefore neglecting a little bit more of the resource generation, because your other cities will be the ones carrying the heavy lifting on the resource gathering department. So I'm gonna show you here, guys. My alliance has entire other alliances simply dedicated to farming those resources. So some of these people, for example, here, this guy Nazgul Farm 1 will have all these cities simply set up within all these other satellite alliances, and they will just fully be dedicated to gathering the resources that will max out their resource gathering speed, and they will have more perks to make the resource gathering stronger and stronger. And I can show you here in the alliance description very quickly. We have 5, or actually a lot more, of those alliances that are only made up of farm cities. Now this takes a lot of time, and it will require a lot more of a commitment, because you will have to be logging and relogging between those accounts and focusing on rather sending stuff to upgrade, so you can upgrade your different research stations, and you can keep on researching stuff on the academy and such and such and such. So you will have to play multiple accounts at once, but those other secondary accounts won't really actually require that much investment, only a few minutes a day. But it will take a few minutes a day, so therefore, if you really want to be progressing fast in this game, it's not really even about spending money. Of course, spending money will help you out, but it's going to be a lot more important to actually have those farms, those satellite farms. The more you have, the better, because it's going to make getting the resources all the quicker, so you won't actually be depending on your own city for the resources, and you won't actually need to spend any money on the resources. You can always do so, but that way you will just be completely free to focus your spendings and your time and your strength and your focus of growth on the militaristic side of things. That's going to make it very much more fun. So there, once again, really do this if you're really committed to the game, because it's gonna make the biggest difference of it all. Another way of going about the farm cities, or what I just talked about, in a less of a boring or effort requiring way, would be if you're playing with other friends, you could, instead of focusing on generating all the types of resources, you could have each of your friends focus on generating one single type of resource. That way you could share your resources between amongst you, if that's what you want to be doing. So you would be getting more of your specific type of resource you invested the time and research into, and when your friend needs that resource, you could always just give some of that to him or her, and they could do the same for you. So that way you could sort of go about the same way as if you were doing your, or setting up your farm. You would maximize the growth and the production of a certain type of resource, and then you would be getting the other types of resources back from your friends. So that's a way you can go about it if the other option for the farms does sound a little bit daunting or boring to you. So that's about all I wanted to point out. Hope you found it useful and you hope you enjoyed the game. If you did so, please, as I said before, go ahead and use the link in the description to download the game. It's gonna help me out a lot. And also use my code. Once again, you can redeem the stuff for free by going into settings and then just inputting my code Midway to get some free stuff. I will not be able to get free stuff for myself, but you will be able to do so if your account was created after mine. So yeah, hope to see you in Age of Origins, and if you do so, you could also go ahead and join my alliance, which is Evolution on the Nation 908. If you want to play with me, you can do so, and let me know in the comments if you do so. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys, see ya.